I'd like to thank you back, Terence, for cell-to-cell health. First time we covered the areas of the 6 foundationals of health, very briefly, as we know. And one thing that comes to this, of course, what we'll be doing is covering them in a little bit more detail. And having looked at them, we notice that thoughts right at the top is the number 1 in the fundamentals. Could you explain why? Is that so?
Well, first I'll give a quick rundown on the concept of these foundationals, why there's 6 of them, why we call them foundational principles. They're foundational in that everybody will do them. It goes through from number 1 being thoughts, number 2 being respiration, number 3 being hydration, 4 is nutrition, number 5 on the list is exercise and movement, and number 6 is your circadian rhythms or sleeping waking cycles. And they're foundational in that everybody does them to some degree or another. It is the efficacy of which you do them, it's how effective you are at doing each one of those foundationals which will determine your vitality and your health. So some people, have stinking thinking, and that number 1 principle is not working in their favour when it comes to vitality. And we do have thoughts as number 1 on that list because, without doubt, it is the most powerful factor in anybody's health. And the way that I can illustrate that best is just by saying that any decision that a person could make to improve their health or to change their life begins first with a thought. So until you think that I'm going to change my exercise patterns, until you think that I'm going to drink some more water, then those health effects underneath it, the other 5 foundational principles, will not be changed. So thoughts by far is the most effective and the most powerful aspect to anyone's health. And when we have a think about this world and that everything in it is created by thoughts, in fact this camera that I'm speaking into at the moment, that originally was someone's thought. It was an idea that then became a reality. And this is why I really stress to people that get your thoughts very clear about what you want to achieve and where you want to go in life. One of the major things that I work with people is to help them address and understand what their dream is, what their legacy is, or what they wish it to be. And then it's like the analogy I use is having a ship in the ocean, and you're right in the middle of the Pacific Ocean and you want to get to San Francisco but you don't have a compass, and you're sailing around and you're just getting blown where the wind blows. But if you had that idea of you want to go to San Francisco and you had that compass there, which is perhaps your goals and your direction with your thought, then you're going to be much more effective at getting to San Francisco. Most people are sailing around in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, they have really no idea where they're going and they're just enjoying the ride, which is fine for some. But if you really do want to achieve your dreams, then you have to get clear about what they are. They find that about 95% of all thoughts that an individual experiences is negative and self-limiting. 95% of all thought is negative and self-limiting. So when I hear that, and when I think that most people are kicking around judging themselves, judging others, and limiting their potential by the way they're thinking, then that's a great way that we can start to build in changes in health into a person's psyche and to their thought patterns. I'll use the example there of the 10,000 monkeys. And you can imagine that in every person's mind there are 10,000 monkeys all chattering away, vying for your attention. And they each have their own little way of grabbing your attention. It might be that party you were at last week where you said something out of place and you're still mulling it over and that monkey keeps talking to you. Oh, do you remember when you said that? Do you remember when you said that? And the funny thing about monkeys are that you can train them. So at the moment, most people have trained their monkeys to be very negative. But if you could get into that monkey mind and train those monkeys to sing a happy song, to sing a song of empowerment, to sing a song of unlimited potential, then imagine what your mind could be like if you could train those 10,000 monkeys instead to chatter at you constantly, to build you up, to sing a happy song that's going to push you forward. So most certainly I believe that thoughts and the mind are the most important aspect to health. And then we can easily lead on from that concept of those 10,000 monkeys chattering at you and then the stress that's created in your body as a result of that negative thinking. Most people suffer from tremendous amounts of emotional and mental stress. especially in this day and age where we're constantly chasing the extra dollar and we're trying to create a better life for our families. And the worry that we do over that goes right through our being. It permeates every cell. In fact, thoughts travel at the speed of light. So an instant you think a thought, your whole body knows that thought. And if that thought is a negative thought, then it will manifest as negativity throughout your entire body. So I definitely recommend that people get in control of their thinking and have a more positive outlook on thoughts.
That's well said, and there's a lot of good points that you brought up there, Terence. And when it comes to controlling thoughts, I mean, would you say that meditation, for example, is a methodology you could use?
Meditation, without doubt, has been the single most effective method of helping people gain control of their thinking patterns. And maybe control is not the right word to use here, but to calm the mind down so those negative thoughts aren't so pervasive throughout one's mind. There was some very interesting studies done, in fact, on the concept of meditation. TCM style meditation. They had a group that went to one of the American cities that was very renowned for its high crime rate. And the study they ended up terming the Maharishi effect, because these group of meditators came into this city, and on this particular day they spent the day meditating, and what they found when they were meditating on thoughts of love and thoughts of peace, that the rates of crime in the city on that day dropped so significantly that the chief of police stood up and said, "We don't know how this happened, but the city is more peaceful today than it has ever been. The rates of murders, the rates of crimes, violent crimes especially, dropped so significantly." So that was just one group of people affecting the multitudes around them by meditation and the powerful vibration that that meditative experience created. And then, of course, we've got the wonderful information that's coming through with quantum physics and the movies like The Secret and What the Bleep Do We Know, talking about how thoughts become things. Thoughts have a vibration, and there's no separation between individuals, and there's no separation from yourself and something that you're observing. How can we put this into practice with our health? Well, we can think that with Dr. Emoto's work, which is some of the most profound information that's hit the world. If I was to say to you, by thinking a thought at a material object, can you change that object? For most people, that's a little bit beyond your comprehension. You'd say, no, I don't think that's possible. It's been proven. This is wonderful science that's come out. Dr. Emoto, Masaru Emoto, a Japanese scientist, did these studies with water. And what he did was he had all these vials of water with different names. Some were happy names like love and peace and joy, and on other vials he had words like destruction and hatred and pain. And he had monks meditate on this water, and following the meditation he would take the water, create crystals from it, and then view those crystals under a microscope, and something very interesting happened. The water was very different from the positive words to the negative words. The positive words had beautiful crystalline structures like snowflakes, very uniform, very beautiful, whereas the crystals from the water with the negative words attached to it had very irregular and somewhat disjointed and, in my opinion, it looked ugly shapes in those crystals. So what does this mean for us? Well, I tell you this in very seriousness, that your body is 70% water, roughly. And thought travels at the speed of light. Every thought you think goes right through your body and affects every one of those water molecules throughout your body. So can meditation help? It can help more than you can possibly imagine, I would say. Yeah.
So people do, in fact, actually differ in their perception of the world, you'd say, right?
Definitely.
Can you explain this in more detail?
Yeah, that's a great question, David. People's perception differs tremendously, often due to their history, what may have happened in their life preceding the certain time that they're living in now. As an example, it's been shown that children up to the age of 6 don't have that ability to discern don't have that ability to enter into what we call a beta mind state, where they're very awake, very aware, active, and can dissociate their surroundings from themselves. And they've found that they can be heavily influenced at that age. And if children are programmed at a young age into a negative pattern of thinking, then that often will go through them throughout their life. There's a wonderful scientist named Dr. Bruce Lipton who's done a lot of work with perception. And he found a very interesting thing, or two things that Bruce Lipton came up with. One was that mothers that are stressed, when they're stressed, they can actually impact upon the fetus that they're carrying within. Even more so than that, the eggs in their ovaries can be impacted from those stressful events, so that the children born of those eggs of a mother's ovaries, a mother that's stressed, may very well change their physiology, change their genetic structure to be more able to elude that stress. So they tend to have longer legs, longer arms, run faster, and often smaller brains as a result. The motor part of the brain is more highly developed. So this is showing that thoughts can affect, genetics can affect your physiology tremendously. So that's a child's perception of the environment via its mother. And then you've got the fetus's perception of its environment, once again through the mother and through the sounds coming through the womb. And then up to the age of 6, the child is very sensitive and receptive to those stimulation of external environments, and will program them to have a certain perception of its world. And then when we have a look at an adult's perception, if we have a look at the mind's capability of processing information, they found that about 4 billion bits of information, 4 billion bits of information can be processed by the human mind subconsciously. Consciously, you can only process about 2,000 bits of information. Now that's like one drop of water in a bucket full of water. So if your 2,000 bits of information that you're selecting to be able to receive consciously are the negative things that are going on around you, then you're going to have a very negative impression of the world, and those negative thoughts are then going to impact upon your health. As an example, you've got 2 people walking down the street and you pass 20 people in your walk. Of those 20 people you pass, 10 people have a frown on their face and 10 people have a smile on their face. When you get to the end of that street, one person that's programmed negatively is only going to see the 10 people that were frowning as they walk. And they get to the end of the street and they say, geez, this town's got a lot of unhappy people in it. The person that's programmed positively will see the 10 people with the smiles on their faces. They'll get to the end of the street and say, wow, the people in this town are really happy. In effect, you've got 10 people frowning, 10 people smiling. The town is just probably an ordinary town. But how do you perceive your environment? And those 2,000 bits of information that you're taking in, we go back to those 10,000 monkeys, and how have you trained those monkeys?
So what's the most important thing that people can do towards improving what they're thinking?
Well, develop an attitude of gratitude. I really liked that when I heard that. Be grateful. Be grateful for what you have, and be grateful for who you are. And more than anything else, when you wake up in the morning, just be grateful for your day. Meditate, still the mind, train those 10,000 monkeys, and investigate concepts like NLP, meditation, and all those happy thoughts that we can choose to experience throughout our life.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that, Terence.
I hope it helps.
It was a ton of good information.
Great. Hope I didn't overwhelm you.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Have a great day.